This game's not won on social media. This game's not won on telephones. This game is won with shoulder pads, helmets, mouth guards, and sweat. That's how the game is won.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Neese. Coach, Indians come off of another tough one Friday night. Indians lose 28-13. One of the things that you look at, and you and I talked briefly about this after the game, is when you look at our stat sheet, no doubt progress is happening on our side. Obviously, we like to see that with a win, but that game Friday night, the score did not indicate how close that game was. We go into halftime scoring with some momentum. We really had some opportunities there, and Coach, no doubt progress is happening on not just offense but defense.
I think so. I think that as you look at the progress throughout the entire year, and you specifically analyze each one of the games, I think the big thing for us is that we're in games. We got to be able to finish. We've got to be able to do some things a little bit better. And the big mantra we've always had around here are big plays and turnovers. And I think in each case, each one of those games, we got kind of bit one or the other on the thing. But the big thing that's lacking for us right now, and we talked about it yesterday in our meetings, the big thing that's lacking is the big play on our part, and the fact that we're giving up big plays on their part. We've had four touchdown passes thrown on us that have been over 40 yards, and we went through an entire 2 years with only one pass being thrown on us. So we've got to make sure that we're getting our fundamentals down a little bit. And it's not all, hey, we got some new players. I think we've got to just get better with our fundamentals. Got to get better with our FBI, our football intelligence. I think sometimes that being new and being first-time starters, you get caught up in the whole thing and you don't realize, okay, it's fourth down. Don't intercept the ball at the 1 yard line. You can have the ball at the 45-yard line to get field position. It's it's an onside kick. It's a kick off. Okay, you have to field it, whereas a punt you don't. Just things that you normally take for granted, and we just got to continue to emphasize it. And our coaches are doing a great job. I mean, you're still in the process. Football's a two-part process. You're teaching it, and then once you teach it, and then you can start coaching it. All right, and we're still making that transition. We're still jumping back and forth between teaching and coaching, and we've got to keep just getting those mental reps going for everybody.
Coach, you talk about the coaching part of it and the FBI and teaching them, but one of the things that I've seen, no doubt, from week 1 into week 4 is each week they are learning and they're soaking it up, and they really do want to learn. And after the game, they certainly are distressed and upset and wanting to win. That's a competitive start, but they come back Saturday, you're watching film, and they're coming back on Monday. They're ready to go again.
Ready to go. Well, if you preach your system and you practice your system, and that is one game at a time. There's been times when we've had some great wins, and everybody wants to come in and talk about that win on Monday. No, it's over. All right. So if you do it then you can kind of put money in the bank for times like this, where you really have to go back and say, okay, hey, we've got to learn. We learned what we're doing right or wrong on Saturday. That's over. Move on. New opponent. We might make a position change. We might have somebody hurt. We might do this. A new week in the weight room, and then you just keep on rolling. It's 10 one-week seasons.
Well, regardless if you're winning or you're not, the philosophy doesn't change, and I think that's the one thing that these guys have seen through the years. Mm-hmm. We're prepared and we're ready to go for the next one.
Exactly.
Coach, if we were to talk about the games in itself, you look at our game versus Stebbins, in which, by the way, we didn't have our show because that was Labor Day week last week. It was a shorter week. And this week with Tippecanoe, each of us, our defense, forces 3 turnovers on both games. So, again, our defense, you look at what our defense is doing, we're doing some good things.
Yeah, they are. And what we've got to do is we've just got to be more consistent with our defense. I think that we've got, that's the place where we have 4 sophomores. We have a lot of new guys back there. 4 sophomores playing. But the good news is our defense is running. Our defense is moving to the ball. I think in the past 3 weeks now here, we always stop the film. We always go to the wide angle of the film, and as the play ends, we want to see where all 11 people are. And we're getting close almost every play to have all 11 right there in that picture, in that little circle. And another statistic that I thought was big is there was 23 plays. 23 of the 53 plays, 23 of them, I couldn't tell who made the tackle because there was just too many people. We looked at it from 2 different angles. We tried to see what was going on, and we just couldn't see it. So that's good in the fact that you've got so many people in there gang tackling. In this day and age, everybody's trying to get out on an island and get people isolated, and our guys are getting there and helping.
If you look at the offensive side of the ball, one of the things that it was very evident in going from game 3 to Stebbins to game 4 to Tippecanoe, we really did move the ball. In fact, we had more first downs than our opponent did on Friday night.
Yeah.
Passing yards, we started to make some routes and some plays from a passing standpoint, but we're also getting some consistent running too. So you can see offensively there's some growth there, and you guys have obviously made some adjustments.
Yeah, I think on offense, I think our line's been there. Our line has been fairly, it's been pretty consistent for us throughout the whole year in terms of grading, in terms of stuff like that. Those guys have really been the crutch, that we've been, relying on for the entire time. And now that we've got Jericho kind of getting going, and we've got some of the receivers getting going, we've got some bubble screens going, we've got some things that we can go past maybe page 2 or 3 of the playbook now. We can kind of get things happening. You can do everything you want on offense and make it look like it, and you just know in your mind that you're not going to be able to execute any of it, but you just want, you can just go out and make it look good and go, wow, we did this, and blame it on the players. You can't do it. Well, that's not how we operate. And what we're doing is we're trying to find things that we can do, things that our players can do, and be able to do in certain situations, and then use that, and then grow from there.
Well, Friday night was to me a great example of what the staff is doing, and you talk about your staff and what you're coaching. Game's over with. There were probably 45 minutes after the game's finished. Everyone's left the stadium, and your coaching staff is all huddled in their coach's office, and they're talking about different scenarios about, hey, maybe we move this guy here, or maybe, hey, if we try this different formation. It was both offense and defense, and those guys were in it. And it wasn't like, hey, we got to be here. It was a genuine, hey, how can we turn this and get this thing turned into a positive? Yeah,
the effort's there. The effort's there from everybody, from top down, and hard work's always rewarded. And we'll look back at some of the situations and say, hey, we're a lot tougher because of this.
Well, as we get tougher, we're going to head into Greenville on Friday night. Team heads to, for the second time this year, the Indians head on the road. Greenville, they've had their challenges as the Indians. Probably not so much to focus on what Greenville does, but what we're doing. But talk a little bit about Greenville, about what we might see a little bit on Friday night.
Well, from a defensive standpoint, they changed their defense. They usually run an even front type defense, and they went to a more odd front, more of a pinching tackle, 4-eye defense that a lot of the teams are popular right now with high school football. I think maybe three teams have ran it against us, and we'll see maybe another 2 or 3 running it, in the future. So that's different. Their offensive linemen and their defensive linemen are the same people for the most part. They rotate those big guys. They've always had big guys, and they rotate them in there, and so they take up some gaps, and really go in there and play tough. Get good speed behind them and run to the football. Then on offense, they have their quarterback back. He's back from last year. He's a track guy. He's a quick guy. I mean, he gets out in the open and he's going to be gone. And so they've got him back, and they've got a couple of his favorite receivers back. And again, that offensive line has a couple guys back from last year, a couple couple new guys, but they're always going to be, a solid football team up front, and be able to play the offense they play. They'll do a lot of kicking out, a lot of double down kicking out, whether or not it's going to be with their H-back or with their guard, and then leading up through.
Coach, for our standpoint, you've been here obviously a lot of years. You've seen a lot of battles through Greenville through the years. Wouldn't anticipate this to be any different. This is a big game for them, not just because of where we are, but that's a big rivalry for them. It always has been a big game for them, and I'm sure our guys are going to know that going into it.
Oh, definitely. And like I said, we kind of go into each week, with the idea that these are our rivals because of this, these are our rivals because of this, and we get those scenarios in our head. And then sometimes we don't have to make anything up because it's either Troy or it's Sydney. Right. But there's a lot of times where you go in and you say, hey, they haven't beat us in this amount of time, or they beat us last year. Let's do this. You're just finding those different ways to see. Never take for granted that everybody's going to be motivated all the time. Even though a lot of times around here we've been blessed, you always got to make sure that you got a little bait on the hook.
Oh yeah, keep them hungry, and I know we'll be hungry to go into Greenville on Friday night. Speaking of hungry, we got some good offensive linemen and some guys that we're going to talk to later in the show. Parker and Stavo, and talk a little bit about those guys and how those guys have been leaders for us on our offensive line, and particularly to how they've been for our team this year.
Well, I'll start off with John. John's been a part starter for us for the last 2 years. Goes back and forth between guard and tackle. Played last week. Played every snap, and he's been solid for us. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy, and once he gets a hold of you, he's going to move you. He's going to move you one way or the other. Actually, when he was a sophomore, I toyed around with playing with him at middle guard, nose man, for a little bit. But I think he became more of an offensive lineman as time wore on. Had the pleasure of having him in my class. He was an outstanding student, and great personality. And now with Parker's been a starter for us for 2 years, a full-time starter. He's been in the middle of the fray for the last 2 years. Great athlete. At one point, he was a basketball player, and then he decided to switch gears and go over to the wrestling department and play a heavyweight wrestler. But he's probably one of our top college prospects on the team. Does a great job, coordinating everything in the middle of the offensive line, making sure we've got our calls right, making sure everybody knows which direction they're going and things along those lines. So look forward to him finishing an outstanding senior year, and obviously he's going to play football for another 4 years on Saturday.
Well, one thing about both those guys, are good leaders, and they lead in different ways. But two intelligent young men, which you alluded to, but guys that in this locker room will follow and do follow.
Definitely. Yeah. They're up there, and the players respect them quite a bit. Is what they do and what their work ethic is.
Well, Coach, thanks for taking time today. We certainly wish you all the best as we head to Greenville on Friday.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, we will come back for part 2. We're going to meet Parker. We're going to meet John, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they think of what it's like to be an Indian when we come back.
Got a bump? Call Lump. Dick Lumpkin's Auto Body.
Welcome to the Bill Neese's Coach Show, sponsored by Dick Lumpkin's Auto Body. This is actually week 5, episode 3. With us today is part 2 of our program. These gentlemen are seniors. They're going to introduce their names and the positions that they play.
My name is Parker James. I play center.
My name is Jonathan Stavinoha. I play right guard.
Stavo, I'm going to have you hold it here for now. Guys, obviously this has been a little bit of a tough start of a season. One of the things, though, has been the theme that we have seen real progress. In a game against Tippecanoe, where the game's 28-13 as a final score, if you didn't see it and you just saw it online or in the newspaper, you'd think there was some separation, but boy, was that game closer than what the score looked like. Not that we want to go and talk about that, but I do want to talk about our our progress and getting better. Stav, what's the mindset from your perspective, and not just on how you're getting better, but how our team is?
I'd say that, we're just, every day we're putting in that work. We're just getting better, and we've made some changes in positions, and it's started to work, and we're all finally getting to that place where we need to be to, win some games.
Parker, I'm going to move it to you. There's been a couple times you and I have had brief conversations after the games, and it's very distressful, I know, to not get a W. I know you're anxiously awaiting the opportunity when you can, after a game's over with, celebrate with the band and do a little do our fight song. Yeah. When that, and it will happen, and our hopes are it will happen this week when we're at Greenville. But talk a little bit about, from your perspective as a leader, what you try to bring every day, particularly knowing the adversity that we're running into.
Yeah, I mean, every day is just, we try to treat it as a new week every week, coming off of, 5 consecutive losses or 4. It's a little frustrating, and, we come out every week and, we grind, we really do. And then on Fridays, it shows, and then, we make some mistakes and then sets back. So I just try to lead these guys and make sure everybody's heads up, especially the younger guys, just keep their heads up.
One of the things that I've always heard Coach Neese talk about on this show through the years, it wouldn't matter what the record is, it's 1 week at a time. Yep. And you put behind what happened the week before and you move forward to the next one. For sure. And a lot of people I know like to look 2 and 3 weeks ahead, because as fans do, they like, hey, this is when we play so-and-so and so-and-so. But you got to lock in on the week, and right now it's Greenville. So talk a little bit about what your mindset is going into this week against Greenville.
Hey, man, I mean, every week I try to tell these guys, sometimes they have their head down going into school on Monday or whatnot, and I tell them, it's a new week, we got a new opportunity to get a W, and that's just my mindset, just trying to get a win every week on Friday. No matter who we're playing, if it's a tougher opponent, if it's a weaker opponent, everybody's tough right now. We're just trying to get a W every Friday.
Stav, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this year. You're getting a lot of quality minutes out there in a position that you talk about putting work in week to week, but you've been putting a lot of work in through the years, and now you're getting your chance. Talk a little bit about what it's like to play underneath the Friday night lights, not just at Alexander Stadium, but just on Friday nights in general.
It's just a surreal feeling. I mean, really, it feels amazing to play in front of all those people. Hear the band, hear the different sidelines, cheering for you or booing you. It's great.
It's a different feeling than being on the sideline or playing on Saturday mornings.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Give me a perspective from your standpoint. You've always wanted to be in this position. At what point were you motivated to stick through it? Because I'm sure there were some times in the last couple of years where you thought, I don't know, this is something I want to do. What motivated you to stick through it?
I think the thing that motivated me the most was definitely my friends and just my different teammates. Caleb Lyons, Anson Cox, they've always just pushed me. They pushed me when they were here, and it made me want to stay and be like them. I mean, they were role models for me.
And we've had some good ones through the years to be role models too. Parker, on your end, you've had this is your second year playing the center position, and that's obviously an important spot, because not only do you have to block, but you got to make sure the ball gets from you to the quarterback. And you've had a couple different quarterbacks that you had to work through, not just this year, but of course you had Brady last year. What's that been like for you, just to get to know your quarterback? What's that relationship like?
Man, it's great. Obviously with the change this year, me and Kai's been buddies for our whole lives, and when Caden was playing quarterback, it was great to get to know him and learn how he played the game and learn his effort and just stick with him because he was our guy, and now it's time to stick with Kai because he's our guy, and just love them and stick together.
Last year, let's talk about Brady real quick. Not that it's about Brady, but again, that relationship you have, you probably learned that it was important that the relationship between the center and the quarterback is essential, and you got to trust one another.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, after the Tip City game last year, actually, I jumped off sides maybe maybe 3 times, and Brady gave it to me pretty hard, and then came in locker room and apologized, and then it's like you don't mean to yell at each other, but everybody's trying to win, and it's just a brotherhood. Be out there on the practice field and get in an argument, and then you can come back in the locker room and still be teammates.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you hear arguments, I think people hear that may be a negative, but actually it's pretty normal in the locker room. But it's how you handle that adversity and how you handle that relationship. It's okay afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about moving forward. And what's that going to be like? A year from now, you guys are going to be on the greener pastures, and less than probably 8 months from now, you guys are going to be walking across the stage and getting a diploma here at Alexander Stadium in a different kind of event. What's some of the things you guys are thinking about? Parker, I'll start with you. What's your mindset?
I'm obviously looking forward to going to college and playing ball somewhere. Don't have my decision made yet, but I know I do want to educate and teach and come out here and coach, and I just really look forward to playing ball in college.
Yeah. Stavo?
I plan to attend the Ball State University for their nursing program, and after my 4 years, my residency, I'm going to be a trauma nurse, and I'm really looking forward to that, just seeing everything.
Yeah, I think the challenge that people run into is when they watch you on the field and they see these big, strong guys. They don't realize you're pretty smart guys, pretty smart individuals, and you guys have obviously get it done in the classroom. What motivates you guys to want to go on at the next level collegiately? I mean, I know some people it's just not for everybody, and it's okay. But for you, what motivated you want to get into the medical field?
Well, what really sold me was just I took intro to healthcare my sophomore year, and I saw what the healthcare profession was like, and I really enjoyed and really liked what I saw. And I just wanted to continue down that path, and it's a very sought after job. We always need nurses. It's a great career in my opinion.
High demand field for sure. Parker, getting into education, what kind of turns you on into that direction?
I don't want to sound rude or whatever, but I really want to coach bad, so I just figured I could educate as well. It's kind of the same thing. So
everybody's got a drive, they got a passion for something, and we get stuck sometimes into our day-to-day stuff, but when you can look big picture, and you guys have, there's no doubt you guys are going to be highly successful in the fields you guys choose, and we certainly wish you all the best.
Appreciate it.
And we certainly wish you the best on Friday night as we head to Greenville and look to get our win over the Wave.
Yes, sir.
And we will be heading to Greenville, as some people are calling it a time warp machine, back to 1970, depending upon who you ask. But we mean that in all sincerity and all genuine. Home of the Maidrights. The Indians will be at the Greenville High School for a 7 o'clock kickoff. We will be back here to talk about that show here next week on episode 4. For my good friends here, Stabo and Big Parker, I'm your host, Chip Hare. We'll see you next week.